You've been discriminating against me and discriminating against some people in the briefing room. And I'm saying that this is the US, this is not China, this is not Russia. This is not Russia.
Okay.
What you are doing, you are making a mockery of the First Amendment. It's been 7 months. You've not called on me. You ignore my messages. I'm saying that that's not right. That's not right.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about the White House press room erupting into absolute chaos as Karine Jean-Pierre once again refused to call on Today News Africa chief White House correspondent, Mr. Simon Ateba. Now, I've done stories about this story in the past, okay? Mr. Ateba claims that Karine Jean-Pierre, for whatever reason, is discriminating against him in the sense that she refuses to ask him questions, which makes sense because we know that this White House, they're focused on asking questions to liberal media outlets that are going to be soft on them. Okay, we already know that Karine Jean-Pierre has a hard time answering questions, even when they are softball questions.
What we are going to promise is that we're going to do this. We're going to move forward with this kind of system, this immigration system that has been gutted, really, truly gutted by the last administration. We're going to move forward and do it in a humane way. We're going to do it in a safe way, and we're going to do it in the way that moves us forward. And so what we have been seeing, what we've been dealing with, again, is trying to fix the damage that the last administration did. What we have done is we've opened the path to make sure that people have a way to get, to come through and do it in a legal pathway.
90% of the time, I have no idea what the I'm talking about.
So yeah, I mean, she probably is most likely going to try to call on reporters who aren't going to ask her anything hard, anything difficult. Okay. So I kind of understand where he's coming from, okay? He's been discriminated against, allegedly. He's not being called on, and he's fed up, okay? He got so fed up that he actually called out Karine Jean-Pierre once again while she was in front of the Hollywood cast for Ted Lasso. And he went as far as to call Karine Jean-Pierre, or Cringe Jean-Pierre, right, the Affirmative Action Press Secretary, a disgrace to the First Amendment. It truly is kind of a glorious moment because it is very true. Take a look.
No, before you begin, I would like to request that you call on everyone from across the room. You've been discriminating against me and discriminating against some people in the briefing room. And I'm saying that this is the US, this is not China, this is not Russia. This is not Russia.
Okay.
What you are doing, you are making a mockery of the First Amendment. It's been 7 months. You've not called on me. You ignore my messages. I'm saying that that's not right. That's not right. That's not right.
Welcome to the press briefing.
I understand you are trying to celebrate some people, but this is not right.
Sir, let it go.
Are you ready? Are we going to behave?
Thank you.
It's not about behaving. I'm saying that you should respect the First Amendment.
Hold on, please. Simon. Sorry to our guests. We apologize.
Yes, I apologize. I apologize. Okay, well, many folks here in U.S. are focused on March Madness.
About people in the briefing room, and I'm saying that that's not right. This is not China. This is not Russia. This is the United States. This is the White House. It's been 7 months. I sent you emails. You don't respond.
The rest of us are here too, pal.
It's been 7 months. You guys have not done anything for me.
You have grievances, you should bring them to her later.
I have done that. I've done that. All my emails have been ignored.
The press corps is tired of dealing with this.
I've done that. I understand that you get questioned all the time and you don't understand what it is to sit here for 8 months and be discriminated against. I understand that you're in the front row and you feel comfortable and you get questions all the time. But there are people in the back who don't get any questions.
Don't make assumptions about what the rest of us do. Mind your manners when you're in here. If you have a problem, you bring it up afterwards. But you are impinging on everybody in here who's only trying to do their job.
Okay, thank you. I'm saying that you shouldn't discriminate against some people because you don't agree with their question. You're offended by their question.
We all heard it.
All right. Guys, as you all know, many of you know, this is the White House press briefing room, a historic room, a room that should have decorum, a room where folks should respect their colleagues and respect the guests that are here. And I understand that there's going to be give and take. That's the way the press briefing has gone for decades before me. And I will always, always respect that.
But what I will not appreciate is disrespecting your colleagues and disrespecting guests who are here to talk, who were here to talk about an incredibly important issue, which is mental health. And what has just occurred this last 10, 15 minutes is unacceptable.
You have been disrespecting against me. You've been disrespecting me for months.
So we're either going to continue the briefing, or we can just end the briefing right here.
No.
Okay, well then, let's go.
Let's go.
Now for my next guest, my colleague John Kirby is joining me here today to
Yeah, so we might as well end the briefing because it's not like you have a damn thing to say or you really answer people's questions when asked. So yeah, you might as well end the briefing. I mean, in fact, just cancel the whole thing, right? You might as well just not have them. It's the waste of taxpayer money and time. Waste of the press time. Now, I want to talk a little bit more about this interaction, but first I actually want to play a clip of Mr. Ateba on Tucker Carlson explaining why he continues to speak out against Karine Jean-Pierre. Take a look.
There. What prompted your exchange with the press secretary?
Yes, thank you, Tucker. Thank you for having me on your show. I'm grateful. You know, the First Amendment protects the freedom of speech, the press, and assembly, and the right to petition your government to seek redress. And
Yes.
that First Amendment says that I have the right to ask questions, to do my job, and the press secretary doesn't need to like me, date me, marry me, have 2 black children with me. She doesn't need all that. She doesn't even need to like my accent, doesn't need to like what I look like, where I come from. They look down on me. They don't respect the First Amendment. And so what has been happening in the White House is in the past 7 months, I've done all the right things. I've not been called on. I've gone to her office to seek a meeting. She said that she will meet with me next year. I've sent questions about the Nigerian election, about, you know, the problems, challenges in Africa. And they've not called on me, even as the vice president is going to Africa, even as the first lady, Jill Biden, went to Africa, even when they received 50 African leaders for the U.S.-African Summit in Washington, D.C., the guy who covers the White House, the African guy who covers the White House is looked down upon in the greatest country in the world, in the most advanced country where freedom of speech is protected. It's a shame what happened today. One of the guys that you showed there now, Brian, he was kicked out of the WACA because he became violent in the Rose Garden. It's a disgrace. It's very violent. He attacks many people. It's a shame. What happened to me today, it's a total disgrace, and it's happening in the Biden White House. And you know, when it happens to Jim Acosta of CNN, because they respect him, he's white, he works for CNN, I'm black, I'm African, I don't have money, they look down on me, I don't have the opportunities that they have, and they don't treat me the same way. I need to do my job. The freedom of speech and the press in the U.S. allows me to do my job, and that's the only thing that I'm trying to do. And they are stonewalling me, trying to help Karine Jean-Pierre, and it's a shame.
The fact that Jeff Mason and the rest, who should be ashamed of himself, took the White House side against you is really one of the most awful things I've ever seen. I was shocked by it as cynical.
Yeah, I agree with Tucker on that because, again, isn't the White House and the press supposed to be adversarial, right? The press is supposed to be on the side of the press, right? If one of the members of the press saying that, hey, I don't feel like I'm being treated fairly, I'm not getting questions, okay, the opportunity to ask questions, the White House isn't being transparent with me, the press is supposed to side with that individual. But because this guy doesn't come from CNN or MSNBC, okay, or ABC or NBC or some of these big legacy liberal media networks, they treat this guy like, oh, you're supposed to just shut up, right? Just shut up and take it. It's not about you. It's not about you. And I'm like, no, it actually is about him, right? It's supposed to be about freedom of press. It's supposed to be about the fact that this guy should have an opportunity to ask his questions to Karine Jean-Pierre. Now, does that mean that he should get a question every single press briefing? Absolutely not, okay? But he should be getting questions periodically, at least once every couple days or so. Okay, I get it. There's a lot of people in there. There's a lot of people that got questions. And also, they should be rotating, right? The same people shouldn't be sitting up front every single time. They should be rotating people up front. They should be rotating people around the room so that a mix of people get questions so that the press secretary is not just focused on the legacy media in the front row. Okay? That's what should be happening. But again, what you have here is a press that's clearly on the side of the Biden administration, even though behind the scenes, they've complained about Karine Jean-Pierre, right? They said that, well, she's frustrating because she don't really answer questions. Okay, we can't really get anything out of her. It's frustrating to deal with her. We actually tired of her. But yeah, they want to side with her over one of their own, because one of their own is complaining and saying, look, I'm being discriminated against, which typically liberals are sympathetic to that. Right? You see how it goes when you're black, right? In this case, African, and you complain about discrimination from Democrats. Oh, well, you need to shut up, right? Shut up and be quiet, right? But if you're black and you complain about discrimination from, let's say, Republicans or somebody white, okay, specifically a white conservative, somebody that's white and not a Democrat, oh, man, that's the worst thing in the world. We got to uplift their voice, right? What happened to uplifting black voices, right? If you're not going to let a African news reporter ask questions during the press briefings, then how are you uplifting black voices? Again, these people are all about that, except when it comes to, again, uplifting black voices that don't agree with Democrats, right? That are not necessarily on the side of Democrats, that are not Democrat propaganda artists, right? It's amazing how that works. And he was right to call her out. I hope he keeps calling her out. Eventually, they're probably going to kick him out, right? They're probably going to say, hey, you can't be in here anymore. But again, it's a shame on every single journalist in that room, and especially the journalist that decided to berate him for simply saying, hey, I feel like I'm being discriminated against. I'm not getting enough questions. Those reporters should be standing up for their colleagues and demanding that Karine Jean-Pierre call on him and ask him questions. But again, no, we live in a time where, again, the press and the government are basically one and the same. Right? They're one and the same. The press won't even stand up for one of their own because they want to be in the good graces of the regime, right? Which, again, is a damn shame. It really is a damn shame to the press. This is why so-called journalists get mocked, right? This is why their profession is not taken seriously anymore. It's because of stuff like this, right? Exactly because of stuff like this. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a black conservative perspective. Peace.